Okay, so we've got this MP who used this expression that niggers in woodpile. I'm not sure if she said pile of wood or not.
Daddy's boring video.
Talitha, I can't believe you said that. Alright then, okay, let's go with this. Niggers in the woodpile. I mean, it is a weird expression, and I can understand why anyone would use this expression in the 1800s in America, maybe even a little less in other parts of the world. Why the expression is being used in the 2000s, 21st century, is beyond me, and not even in America. It's beyond me. But that's as far as my shock goes. I don't understand, white knights riding to my rescue, angrier about this than I am. It's a pretty weird sort of like culture we have developed in this more, how shall I put it, in a postmodern age where everything is relative and every point of view is as valid as the next. What I find really odd, although it is consistent with the entire philosophy, is that our culture has become a witch hunt culture, where if you say the wrong thing or you say something offensive, millions of people clamor and hound you out of your job. It's like a Van Helsing sort of like scene where all the farmers and the women and the widows and the children march out against the Dark Lord and his castle, with the pitchforks and the burning sticks and everything else, and they want to hound the Dark Lord out of his castle. I mean, that is pretty weird. That's how far we have gone. We are more Puritan than the Puritans. The Puritans would never do this. Puritans would never hound you out of your job because you said something offensive, and in a way, this woman, and I now think of her as a poor woman, is a witch. I mean, that's what she is. Because we're determined to hound her out and disgrace her and shame her as though she has not been shamed enough already. And now she has to be hounded out of her job. And you watch these pundits who want to represent the people. They themselves with as little dignity and integrity as the next person, trying to create the right climate for her to voluntarily fall on her sword. And of course, that expression, falling on your sword, is an old one. And the oldest example I know is King Saul falling on his sword as he sees his entire family line disintegrate before him. And we have other honorable mentions. Brutus, for example, ancient Rome, falling on his sword. We have the Japanese harakiri, ceremonial suicide, where they literally fall on their sword. Of course, all these guys, these people, they fall on their swords as a point of honor. It's about restoring honor, not just to themselves, but restoring honor to their families. Why would require anyone, especially in this postmodern age where everything is permissible, why we require people who say offensive things to fall on their swords is beyond me. Talk about hypocrisy of the highest order. And while we have pundits, white knights who want to fight, or who come to our defense. Spoke to one of my friends yesterday. We were not in the least offended. We more didn't understand why anybody in the 21st century would speak out of turn. And when I say speak out of turn, the words fell out of your mouth, literally is what you're trying to say, MP. The words fell out of your mouth. And usually with an obscure phrase, especially a phrase like that, with its roots way back in the 1800s. I mean, you've got to go back into your memory banks to fetch that one, from some obscure file in some obscure, filing system. this just fell out of your mouth, and I find it weird, and I feel more sorry, for people who use phrases like this. The latest example was Comeback, who said something along those lines, where the words fell out. It's pretty weird that you have anachronistic ways of thinking. This is not about speaking wrong words. This is about thinking. So you have anachronistic ways of thinking, ways of thinking that literally fall out of the pages of the history books, and it demonstrates that a lot of people still think like this, and that's fine. And when I say that's fine, it works itself out. Why we want people to fall on their swords when they misspeak is beyond me, and I think we have to stop this nonsense of witch hunts, calling people out and demanding that they resign. We have to stop this nonsense.